There it is. Brain quiz. Well, Booker's, yours came up first, so I'll go over yours first. Is that cool? All right. All right, let's see here. Let me get up the picture of the brain. Quiz, there it is. Wasn't too confusing. You said it was confusing at first, Sarah. What was up with that? Did I have the pictures out of order or something?
No.
Oh, you had to scroll. I got you.
Really confusing.
I got you. Yeah. All right. So the cerebral cortex here. So we went over this on Thursday. All right. So number one, we have the frontal lobe. Okay. We have the frontal lobe. We talked about that, how that's just right behind the forehead. Okay. Different processes of planning, understanding, and different types of cognition developed there in the frontal cortex. Good. Two, parietal lobe, right on top of the brain. Okay. Right behind the frontal lobe. And that's right on top. Okay, we talked about that with mathematical reasoning. Okay, also some sensation located there. We'll talk about the central cortex or sensory cortex. And we know that with the motor cortex located right along this fissure as well, separating the two lobes with different types of movements, things like that. All right, three, occipital lobe, mostly with vision. Okay, in the back of the brain, right above the cerebellum. Four, temporal lobe. Okay, temporal lobe right here on the side of the brain, auditory processing. Okay. All right, so portion of the cerebral cortex just behind the forehead involves motor cortex and is involved with making plans and judgment, frontal lobe. Portion of the cerebral cortex at the top of the head uses general processing, critical thinking, and mathematical reasoning, parietal lobe. So that's two. Portion of the cerebral cortex involved with auditory processing, temporal lobe, 4. And portion of the cerebral cortex at the back of the brain responsible for visual functions, occipital lobe, number 3. All right, limbic system. The limbic system. So number 1, we have the amygdala. Right, we talked about how pleasure, we talked about how aggression, focus is there, and some memory experience right there as well. 2, we have the hypothalamus, so regulation of different types of hormones, okay, blood pressure, heart rate, you name it. 3, hippocampus. So the hippocampi, it branches off, okay, the hypothalamus here, these arm-shaped figures, and we know that past and present memories. Part of the brain connects to your present and past memories, hippocampus. This part of the brain relates to memory and emotion, largest role in dealing with feelings of pleasure. Amygdala. This part of the brain analyzes blood, regulates body temperature, and detects imbalances like feeling thirsty or hungry. Hypothalamus. All right, last one here, brainstem. 1, the thalamus, we know as the central processing chip. All right, really receiving any type of incoming, outgoing information to the brain, to the rest of the body. 2, the pons, right, bridge. Okay, bridge. We talked about the pons. And we mentioned facial expressions, movements, okay, tear production, you name it. 3, reticular formation, keeping the brain awake and alert. Pencil-like fibers, shaped fibers that are right behind the pons and the brainstem, connecting the spinal cord up into the brainstem. 4, medulla. So this is involuntary movements. A lot of these parts within the brainstem involves involuntary movements. So respiratory system, heart rate, blood pressure, you got it. Low in the brainstem regulates body functions, including breathing, blood pressure, heart rate. Medulla, Latin for bridge, which relays signals that from the cerebellum that deals with movement, sleep, respiration, swallowing, bladder control, hearing, eye movement, facial expressions, the pons. Pencil-shaped bundle of fibers, nerve cells that forms a brainstem core, helps keep the brain awake and alert. Reticular formation. Like the central processing chip of a computer and directs all incoming, outgoing in sensory motor traffic. Thalamus. Little brain, which enables one type of nonverbal learning, memory, helps judge time, regulate our emotions, discriminate sounds, textures, helps with balance. Cerebellum. This part of the brain is located in the temporal lobe and controls receptive language. Wernicke's area. This part of the brain is located in the front or the left frontal lobe and is involved in expressive language. Broca's area. So we talked about that right at the end of the chapter, or sorry, right at the end of going over the cerebral cortex on Thursday. Those two areas of Wernicke's area and the Broca's area, all dealing with speech production and receptive language. All right, is there any questions on that? You guys good? Good stuff, good stuff. All right, so let's go over here. Good there. All right, I had a bell ringer for you, but it was on the cerebral cortex, so I'm just going to skip that. We just went over the quiz. I think you're good with it. I think we all understand it, and we'll move on with the documentary today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy it. For those of you at home, check it out. Boy, the incredible brain.